Hi everyone, we'll get going. Welcome to this month's Access the Text. We'll go through a few things. So today we've got presenting myself, Anne Southall, head of product here, Mitch Davis, our solutions consultant, which many of you will know. If you have any questions or answers, please put them in the box below in the Q&A one, not the chat one, if possible. The Q&A one's a little bit easier for us to control and know that we've answered your question. So what are we discussing today? So we'll also have some great product updates from Anne around some work we're doing with CPQ tool and call flow design. So Anne will run through those in a sort of demo style and give us an update of where they're at in the product team. Mitch will give us a run through on Teams Enhanced versus Teams Basic. Also through the surveys with SASBOSS, IVR and iCall suite. He'll also run us through the SASBOSS tips and tricks, which is around our API integration, which a few of our partners use. And we'll have a quick video from one of our partners about how they're using the API currently. And then we'll have Q&A. So over to Anne.
Thank you. All right, so a few things to go through today. First up are things that are coming soon to SASBOSS. So CPQ is the big exciting piece that's coming for the next couple of months. I'm going to do a demo of that in a minute. But first I want to talk to you a couple of other things that are happening. So one, part of SASBOSS 2.0 changes are removing PRC. So it's about migrating all those features and the functionality that's within there and bringing it into SASBOSS. So it's all in one spot, continuous journey and easy to access. There's a lot of different initiatives that are part of that around the knowledge base, how you access articles, find all the support and help you need, and just really moving all of that into a much more easier to access, easier to search, making the content broken up so you can find what you're looking for a lot easier. There's quite a few initiatives around there. One of the ones that we've tackled most recently is the roadmaps, like how you submit ideas to us, how that gets put onto a roadmap and then displayed back to you. So most people will be familiar with the ideas portal that's now in SASBOSS. So it's on the menu on the left, ideas, and it works very similarly to how the current PRC roadmaps one does. So you submit an idea, it becomes visible, it's reviewed by the product team every week. They get put through and put on the roadmap. You can vote on those ideas. Most votes, most people get responses and comments. People can talk back and forth in this portal. So we no longer need the roadmaps in the PRC. So we're saying goodbye to it at the end of this month. It's being fully retired and all that functionality now will completely live within SASBOSS. So if you haven't used the ideas portal before or not sure where to find it, there is information online. Otherwise, send us through a message and we'll be able to point you through towards it. The second item we have is in-app SASBOSS feedback. So this is around working out what you like, don't like, or want to change in SASBOSS as you're using it. So one of the most common ones is finding out your satisfaction with using SASBOSS. So when you log in now, that quarterly will ask you how satisfied you are. It'll just be a very quick question, rating out of 10, and just how you feel about it. It will appear at the bottom of your screen. It actually kind of blends in with the bottom row. And just a quick question and it will just pop up. You can dismiss it. And that's really the easiest way that we can get a quick snapshot of the entire base of how we're feeling on SASBOSS and make quick changes easily. All right. And the last one, CPQ tool. You've all heard quite a bit about this already. So this is opportunities, quotes, and visual call flow design tool. So I've talked quite a lot about opportunities and quotes, especially the road shows. And so we're going to go through a quick demo of that. And then we're also going to have a sneak peek of the visual call flow design tool. So if I bring up this one. So you'll be familiar with this page. So this is the, thank you, CPQ tool, how it appears within SASBOSS. So in the menu, it's this icon. It's not available to you yet. It is coming for the next couple of months. This is sort of what it would look like when you click on it. So here are your opportunities. This is your pipeline of all ones that are seeing the evaluation through to close won or close lost. And you can create new opportunities and add quotes through here. So I can either make a new opportunity using this button, or I can go to an existing one. So I'll go through to Honda Motors. Honda Motors already has a couple of quotes in here and all the opportunity information. And so for the quickness of this demo, we'll just create a new quote, quick name, and here's all the information you can put through. The CPQ tool is all about making it much easier to put the information in. So lower your overheads, You can sit with the customer and do the quote as you speak. You can talk them through information. So for example, under licenses, I could click calls into queues. There's information about it. The compatible add-ons are already pre-selected for you. So it's much easier to try to find them in the long list. And you can talk them through as you go through it. For example, devices, I can talk about this Panasonic, make sure there's more information on it. All the information is there. So it's about making it much faster to put information in, making the information more accurate, and also having a better experience with your customers. So devices, DIDs are also in here. Information, I can add them. That all gets added to your bill of materials. You can put additional fees in. So this is a newer feature. So this is things that outside of our price book that you can include. So you can put them in, you can give it name, a description, a category. Categories will make them appear segmented out on your quote. A type, price, how much of it, the frequency, whether it's a once-off fee at the very start or if it's a monthly recurring one. I've got some pre-filled ones here. So these are additional fees category, and this is additional services category. So that's how it will appear on your quote. So it makes it nice formatting, really. And then all the way through to review. I'll go through call flows in just a second. So go over for the moment. This is what you would look like. So this person has chosen to have the quote version. Here's all the line items, so the licenses, through down to devices, add-ons, everything down the bottom. You can have edit your customer information, disclaimers, terms and conditions, and talk back and forth between sales members through your comment section. But the new and exciting piece today is, that's on the right laptop. New and exciting piece today is the call flow design. So you are getting the first sneak peek of call flow design. This has not been shown at any of the road shows yet. And this is how it appears. So you're still in CPQ tool. This call flow design tool will be used for provisioning and supporting your customers for triage and simulation. But this is the CPQ version of it. So it's still at the top. So you've got all your licenses, devices, DIDs there, but call flows is here. So this one is pre-built already. It's quite a complicated call flow, but this will give you a basic look of what it's like. So for Honda Motors, this is their main call flow. They've got a few others there at the moment. It starts with a main IVR, we've called time of date routing, I should say. After hours, it goes through a hunt group, through a bunch of users and overflows to a voicemail. Whereas during the day, they've got a reception console, sub IVR, which goes through and has some overflows to some other support queues, and down a couple more support queues down here. So what I'm going to show you today is how you would add another IVR to this workflow and then a call queue to it. So to do this, I can highlight, so there's these adds and pluses all over the place. Click there, gives me some options for what I want to pick. Also, I could search for some others if they're not shown. This is the most used ones. I'm going to do IVR. Gives me options for IVRs, so I can do an IVR or a sub IVR. I want an IVR, gives me some information about it, and I'll click there. So that's added it. It's completely blank at the moment, and I can continue adding, so I can go to the next plus and add another thing and another thing. It'll leave all default values, and then I can come back later. So if I'm sitting with the customer, I can write this up really quickly so they can see what it would look like and come back and fill the information in later, or I can do it now. So so labels, so this is IVR2 because IVR1 was previously used, extension 000 with one IVR option. So I can add another one, get another one there. I can add a label, which gets updated, give it the extension, a DID number, let's say 1300. Add the number in there, it'll appear, and I can close that. So I'm done with that one, sorry. And a label for the IVR. So Dora, and we'll add a call queue to Dora. So the other way I could have done this is I could have dragged directly from the pane. So I'll do that with the call queue center. So got one there, drag it through, have it appear. So right now it's a floating call queue, it's not attached to anything. I can do that, I can do that with users or any of them. But this one I want to add specifically to this IVR, so I'll drag and drop it there. And now I've added the call queue. So this is a really quick overview of how to use the visual call flows. We'll be doing a more in-depth one in the next Access the Text, and really stepping through how this, like for example, this call queue was, sorry, not call queue, this call flow was made. And we'll give you, show you what all the options of how like users are added, voicemail is added, all sorts of items. So yeah, as a quick sneak peek, that is call flows.
Awesome.
two questions about that we got to come through.
Oh, brilliant.
One of which, can you add favorites for your additional fees? So if you're doing the same recurring.
Yes, you can. So going back to the other one. So this is what it looks like if you didn't have a marketplace price book of your own. So what we're allowing you to do is save or do a bulk upload of all your kinds of fees, in which case, in SASBOSS, which case when you come to the CPQ tool, they will already be available to you to pick from. So this is about adding additional fees that you haven't, that don't exist yet. You can put them through, it'll be available to you. So you can select, and so same as the licenses where they're all kind of there, you just add the quantity or how much you want of those ones. So that is an option to do.
And the other one will be people who have watched this, they want to provide some feedback about what they've just seen. What's the best way for them to provide feedback about what they like, what they don't like, I think.
Absolutely. So talking to your PGM is a great way. Talking to your friendly solution consultant is another great way. But you can connect to the product team directly. So I'll have at the end of this send out the product responses email address. And you can talk to us. Otherwise, I'm happy to have a chat and have a call about it. I can talk, so I'm really slowing myself down here because I could talk for hours about this. These guys have heard me talk for hours about this. So this is a very high level view, but I'd love to talk to you more about it and show you what it's really capable of doing.
And one last question that's just come through. Do we have a time frame of when this is going to be released?
Yes, in the next couple of months. So within 3 months.
Within 3 months?
Within 3 months.
So early Christmas present.
Early Christmas present, exactly.
Awesome.
Sure, awesome. Keep it crossed. As you can tell, Anne is very excited about that product. And we are also, from a solutions point of view, very excited about the product and we've had a lot of input into the call flow design. And that is a very small snippet of what it's capable of. So it is really good, a good product that's coming out that we're really excited about. And we know that it will help a lot of you be able to bring on services a lot quicker, be able to work with your clients a lot easier and quote and build out the opportunities with them live at their site. You can be talking to them in a meeting and going through and building that call flow with them. And then effectively you've got all the licensing and everything. You can potentially pull out a quote straight away and they'll be really happy that you've done that almost immediately. And then what will be the flow on from that eventually is being able to potentially one-touch provision that with a bit of extra information added to that solution so that your provisioning team then has a really easy path to installation.
Exactly. It's all about, as I said before, removing your overheads and making more accurate quotes. It gives you the flexibility to put as much into the quote as you want. So you don't have to put a call flow in if that's not how your sales team works. They can still fill out just the minimum bill of materials. They can put a little extra information in. They can put the visual call flow, they can fill it out completely and then send it through. And that makes it easier for the provisioning team to go through and come through with context about what they're actually building. The same visual call flow with a slightly few more features is in the one-touch provisioning. So when that picks up from closed one, lands in the provisioning flow, that gets picked up and you have your quote there, you have your visual call flow there. So all the connections you need to go off and create that flow. And it looks the same, so the same visual call flow. And again, when you want to, something goes wrong for your customer, they need to make changes or add additions to your call flow, coming through to the customer and support that will be released next year, you'll have the same call flow experience as well. So it's all quite seamless. It's all picking up from the same spot and allowing you to move through easier with just a much better user experience.
Yeah, so the total aim is to have a cradle to grave experience for yourselves as partners to be able to quote, provision, do the call flow design, have a go into provision that, and then the support team can pick it up and be able to look at the call flow design and know that that's the live call flow design and be able to troubleshoot it from there. But at the start, we've got to do the first part, which is the quotes and visual call flow design tool to be able to get to the point where we can get the provisioning side of it done. And then the support side will be the part after that. So that's a good 6 months to a year away.
You guys did spend too long talking about it. We do have a few more questions that came through.
Okay.
So can we build a quote via the call flow setup? So do you have to do the quote first and then the call flow, or can you do the call flow and then build the quote afterwards kind of thing?
You can do call flow and then build quote afterwards. So as you add items onto the call flow design, they automatically add to your bill of materials. You will need to go through and assign, so if you've added some users, but the information and the DIDs aren't associated, then you have to associate them afterwards or during the provisioning piece after. So if you're doing bill of materials first, and you put your licenses through and then your DIDs and your devices, you'll then have them available to in your call flow. But if you do change up the call flow afterwards, it allows you to sync them. And so things that are missing or have been added as you're doing the call flow, because you're going through and you realize, oh, I actually need 3 more users here, and a few other things, it will sync it up into your bill of materials into the quote.
And the last question was, I'm not sure on the slide in the demo, it may have displayed buy price for hardware. I assume that's actually going to be the sell price in the quote that's exported to the customer, correct? It's the sell price that's configured within SASBOSS?
Yes. So showing you on the side is like the price for the device itself, and now in the other one is yours. Yeah. So only one will be shown to the customer.
Yeah. So on the exported quote, it's only going to display the sell price to the hardware of all the services. It's never going to display cost prices to your customers at all.
Correct. Just for your FYI.
Will the call flows add suggestions, as in changes that will benefit the client?
Brilliant question. I love that question. So not in the MVP. So we want to see how people use the call flow design tool, the CPQ tool, and what works best. So give it a bit of time, works best for those customers. We will have just-in-time insights in phase 2 and phase 3 of the CPQ tool. So as you're going through, you've put in your opportunity information the customer vertical, for example. Say they're a doctor's place. It will give you suggestions of what a good call flow looks like for that, what the best features and add-ons are, what a standard template might be for the call flow. So it'll give you a starting point, suggestions on what best product mix would be good for them. That will be in later phases, but not for this particular MVP.
So just for those who don't know what MVP means.
Minimum viable product. So yes, so what we want to do is get you something as soon as possible so you can play with it, give us feedback. We don't want to go out and gold plate everything from the start and you to turn around and say, actually, that's not quite how we want to use it. And we need to do a lot more rework to change it. So if we try and give you something that gives you the minimum thinnest slice of the feature suite, and you can go and play and say, actually, that was really great, but please change that, or we don't need this. We can be really agile in terms of how we build it for you to make it the best product that you need. So that's why we're doing it that way.
Cool. That's definitely part of how we're building it as well, is we're not forcing you down a specific path about how to use this product as well. It's fairly flexible. It's meant to work with your sales team and how you guys do your selling at the moment, not forcing you down a specific way of doing stuff.
Exactly.
That's all the questions that I had come through now. If there is more, we will answer them at the end. We can get through them, that's not a problem. Also about the hardware sell price, if you're not sure how to configure that as well, or if you need just a refresher, just reach out to your PGM and we can help you out, set up those sell prices so it's accurate for how you want to sell your hardware going forward as well.
Cool. All right. If there's no further questions. Teams enhanced versus team basic. So over to you, Mitch.
Awesome. So as you probably all are aware, and look, it works. I had to click it a few times. So Teams calling is a service that we do provide. We have a few mixtures of it. And a few things about that. It is one of the fastest growing business software in the world. Everyone's using Teams now. Comes with the Office 365. I think it comes with all your Office 365 licenses. You get some version of Teams involved with that. Teams calling is still that add-on on top of that. So you will still need to buy that add-on for it. But it is somewhere, Teams is out there in the marketplace. Almost lots of businesses are using it. 75 million users daily and growing. This stat is a few years old. I'm sure it's way above this now. So in the past 2 years, when the stat was probably pulled out, it's probably doubled almost in that time. And integrates into your phone system. So this is what we're talking about, is providing Teams calling. And it's expanding that existing functionality. You're not installing new software on people's computers. You don't have to change. You're not having to install WebEx for them. You're not having to go out there and install hardware. If you use us to do the provisioning, it's single touch almost to go all of the provisioning. And then the customer just gets a dial pad appear within their teams. There's no additional software, you don't have to reboot their systems, any of that just works for them. So we've tried to make that provisioning as easy as possible from that side as well. Yep, so it is designed to be a true Broadworks replacement from that side as well. So a little bit about, we do have 2 user models for Teams calling. Teams Basic, which is using a BroadSoft to do your basic call management. So you're still ordering your DRDs through SASBOSS, using it to apply to the users through PowerShell. We're running those PowerShell scripts for you. So we're pushing that configuration to the customer's 365 tenancy for you. You don't have to worry about any of that. The big issue with this though is redundancy. There is no redundancy built into that. If Office 365 goes down, like it did 2-3 weeks ago now, those customers will be offline. It is like their phone system going offline from that perspective. The other thing we do provide is our enhanced user. So the reason why we provide this enhanced user is to give you that extra functionality. It's not just redundancy either. It's additional functionality that Teams isn't providing, Microsoft isn't providing. So that's things like additional CRM integrations. Microsoft is only bringing out into Dynamics at the moment, and it's only for dynamic sales. We can integrate with a lot more CRMs, not just Microsoft Dynamics. Means that you're getting that redundancy from WebEx perspective. Means you're getting your zero touch provisioning for your hardware as well. So you don't have to use Microsoft certified devices. Getting a lot more functionality on our back end to be able to provide you that, that end user experience. Primarily for the customer, it will be using Teams as their calling method. So day to day, they have Teams installed, that's where their phone's going to ring. The reason why Teams Enhanced is more critical and can be really big is for exactly the case the other week. Teams Office goes down. People are offline, people can't receive calls. They log into WebEx on their computers, gives them that redundancy. They don't have to jump between different systems. They don't have to install something if it's pre-installed. You don't have to update the licensing in the back end when it breaks kind of thing. It's already done. They just have to log into that software and it's going to ring. So from a BCP perspective, talking to your customers about that redundancy, talking to them about what happens when your phone system goes down, or what happens when, if you're selling on-prem solutions, what happens when that phone system breaks on-prem, or what happens when the internet connection is down? Can you work remotely? Those kinds of things is when Teams calling especially, but Teams Enhanced on top of that as well is really good at extra add-on from a sales perspective to be able to bring that extra services across. And with that, it doesn't have to be every single person inside the organization either. You can have a hybrid of some users who are entirely Teams Basic, some users who are Teams Enhanced. So things like your receptionist, your main answer points, who are answering lots of calls to your business, your call centers who are answering lots of calls. Those are the users to have enhanced. People who, if they miss a call, it's not the end of the world, are the users to have on Teams Basic. Or you can upgrade them if it's a longer outage or something like that as well. You can just upgrade them on the back end and then get them to install WebEx and do it that way as well. So it depends on how quickly they need to cut across as well. So as I mentioned, BCP being a big part of the reasons to do that solution, CRM integration is another one, contact center. If you have the customer with a complex contact center solution, Teams does have call queuing. It's not a contact center solution, however. It's inbound, you're hearing on hold music till someone answers your call. Our contact centers, our BroadSoft contact center solution, you're getting a lot more functionality out of that. So this is things like your welcome messages, your custom on hold musics, which Teams can do. But on top of that, you're getting comfort messages, getting ability to escape the queues, those kinds of things, that detailed reporting from iCall suite that you can't get out of Teams natively. Those kinds of things is how you can upsell the customer to Teams Enhanced, get them some additional functionality. And finally, the big one that we see a lot of is call recording. Teams Basic does have some basic call recording capabilities. However, what people don't realize is if I hit record on that call, it saves it to my OneDrive. It doesn't save it to SharePoint, doesn't save it to a centralized location, or anything like that. So from a training perspective or from a call center perspective of if you want calls to be recorded for training coaching purposes or to make sure no one's saying anything dumb on the phone, things like that. Using BroadSoft for your call recording, it's going to give you some extra functionality around that side. So that's all going to be saved back into SASBOSS, like you're familiar with. Anyone with access, anyone with an enterprise login can access those files. So you're locking down who has access. the agent can't just go in and delete the call that they were swearing at the customer on. So a lot more cut down, lockdown functionality from that perspective to be able to give that extra functionality. And as I mentioned as well, having that hybrid solution. So Teams may not be best for everyone. Teams may be great for someone on the road, but you have a call center. They want real desk phones. They have VA links that they're pre-existing. Put them on our BroadSoft side. Don't give them Teams calling. Cut down the cost that way. They can use our BroadSoft functionality for all of that, and it's still extension to extension dialing. It's still on net from that perspective. So a lot of extra functionality from there. Someone did mention at the beginning of this, yes, there was upgrades to Microsoft licensing early this year. So it used to be a few different calling licenses that were optional. There is only one phone system license now. I think it's about $11 retail. So that's what the one license you need to apply to your users from that perspective. So everyone just needs that, and it doesn't matter what base license they have. They could be business basic all the way up to an E5, which includes the phone system license, and they will all work. There is still that caveat, however, of one additional license just for our SBC user to activate the domain inside the tenancy. After that, it's just user licensing only. But yeah, from that perspective, setting up Teams calling for enhanced for that BCP, I can't stress that enough, especially after people think Microsoft doesn't go down. It went down 2 weeks ago for a few hours, and lots of customers, lots of partners were unable to make and receive calls. So from that perspective, it is a big piece that you can use as an upsell to your customers. Anything you want to tell?
No.
Cool. Awesome. Good. Next one. By the end of this, you will be sick of me talking. I will give you that. Surveys with SASBOSS. So utilizing IVRs in iCall suite to be able to do end of call surveys to your customers. So this can provide a lot of extra functionality. Customer satisfaction. So how satisfied were your experience with the service? Agent performance. How was my agent on the phone? Did they say something dumb? Do you think they did a good job? First call resolution. Was your call solved on first call? Was this the first time you called in, or how many times did you have to call in? Or even net promoter score. So being how would you recommend our service to another, to someone else, friends, family, that kind of stuff. All of these are really simple ways of being able to get end customer feedback. So not just yourselves implementing them internally, but giving them the options to your customers as well. They will. Lots of customers will want to know this kind of stats. If they're running call centers, if they're running larger operations, this is the kind of stuff they do want to see. And from that perspective, if you've already sold iCall Suite into an organization as well, and they're already running call queues, they're already getting lots of reporting from that perspective, this is a really easy add-on to be able to provide to them for not much extra cost. So really easy upsell, as well as an upsell to use iCall Suite. You can do a lot of these reports with the basic version of iCall Suite. So be able to get that data back from there so that they can get that. I say not all of this reporting, some of this reporting can use will need ultimate licensing, but you can get some of it out of basic. So from our perspective, to be able to set it up, all you need is an IVR and some call queues. So IVR, really cheap product on our services. Call queues are all free, so really cheap to be able to deploy this for your customers. It's just a matter of creating the IVR, putting down the options as your different tiers for your results, creating independent call queues for those corresponding feedbacks, and making sure that they name something that means something. If you're just calling them 1 to 5, what's 1? What's 5? When you go back to the reporting, you're not going to remember which one's which kind of thing. Your customer may not know. So making sure that giving them names of satisfied versus unsatisfied, making sure that's accurate across the board is also really key. And then just going back and updating that IVR so it's responding to the correct locations. Once that's done, the rest of it's done through iCall Suite. So there's 2 main reports that we recommend from that side. And all of this is really simple. So if you've looked at reports within iCall Suite, they're all really simple. These can all be automated. They can be set up as dashboards. So that's the reason why these are the 2 we recommend. The contact center group summary, such a quick overview, seeing how many calls on a day or in a week are going to, how many are getting to very satisfied versus unsatisfied, just looking at your quick overview. This is also what you're going to use for wallboards. So if your customer's got wallboards on their TVs in the office kind of thing, and they want to look at these stats and display them in the office, use them as a resource for their teams, put them on wallboards, and that way we can see exactly how many calls are coming in, how many of them are getting satisfied versus unsatisfied. And then once again, and the other way of that is the detailed report. So contact group detail. This is really specific calls. So this could be a weekly report and you look at all the really negative feedback you got throughout the week. Is it the same user who's having negative feedback all the time? Is it the same agent who's transferring calls to the queue all the time? Is it on that level? Looking at that kind of detailed reporting and seeing that kind of level of detail can help a customer or yourselves look at, is it this person? Is it this agent? Is it this queue? Because the queue is taking too long and people are being frustrated by the time they get answered. All of that can help with this kind of scores as well. And you don't have to, at the top level, I did mention a few options, lots of different reporting standards as well. So you could have something completely different to those 4 that I did, or you could have multiple. There's nothing stopping you from having your IVR go to your call queue, and your call queue, once they've hit a button, goes back to a different IVR and asks them a different question as well. So you can report on it that way. Lots of different, have multiple reports. And you can change it up throughout the year as well. So you may report a net promoter score for 3 months a year, then your agent performance for the other 9 kind of thing. So changing up the feedback as well. So it's not just everyone who calls and gets the same question all the time. Lots of different ways you can do that kind of thing for your customer. And finally from me, SASBOSS tips and tricks, automating the boring stuff. So at this point, you probably are all sick of me talking about APIs and what you can do with them. Quick overview though.
So we did just have a few questions come back about that previous section as well. So the reporting can be added and removed as needed as well. So it's up to, if you want to charge your customers for those moves and changes on those services, that's free will. So you can charge your customers for that. And then from a setup perspective and a reporting perspective, we do have a video that will be going up on the PRC today, just after this webinar, to show you how to set up both inside SASBOSS and inside iCall Suite to be able to do that configuration as well. Yep, so as I mentioned just previous, so when we got cut off, there is the 3 APIs. So the SASBOSS Provisioning API, and that's allowing you to turn on and off services, update services, all that kind of stuff. SASBOSS Billing, so integration back into your billing system. So we do have integrations into Xero and Datagate and stuff like that. But if you're using additional one, that would be your best way to do that. And then iCall Suite, so data analytics and all that from the iCall Suite reporting perspective. And that could also be used for that topic I was just previously talking about as well. So being able to pull the data out of that, and that way they can report on that satisfaction in Power BI or something along those lines as well. So a few different ways to do that one. Once again, just quickly how to get started with it, in case you haven't, don't remember from last time. 2 steps to it. So there is the API documentation on PRC. It does go through it all and how to configure your tokens and all that kind of stuff. But before you do that, you do just need to have a whitelisted IP address. So if you have a main office, just whitelist your your main office. Otherwise, if you're like us and you have a team who work remotely a lot of the time, you may need a whitelist some external IPs as well. And that just needs to be approved through our TAC team. So just email our TAC team with what IPs need to be whitelisted, and then we give you that access. And for a slight change of topic, well, from a slight change of perspective, we asked one of our partners, so Josh from PConnect, will be talking about how they use their our API to provide some functionality to them and their customers.
Well, hi there, my name is Josh. I'm one of the engineers here at PConnect, one of Access4's many partners. We use the SASBOSS API quite a bit to automate a lot of repetitious tasks and also to provide outside the box solutions to our customers and their specific business needs. We also leverage the API to do some pretty cool stuff as a business, with mashing together different vendor APIs so that we can open up additional services to offer to our customer base. It's pretty cool what you can do with a little bit of scripting to leverage an API, which then just opens up a whole world of automation to make life easier. In this video, I'm just going to briefly talk about a couple of specific problems that we came up against as a business, and how we were able to use the SASBOSS API to provide a solution. We had two problems that we needed to address. First one was for a customer who migrated from a previous system. Call recordings were automatically downloaded via FTP and then saved into a file share or central location. And we had to look at providing a similar solution as part of their onboarding. And then internally, we had two problems that we needed to address. We had a requirement to monitor for a specific $0 endpoint service pack if that had been incorrectly applied to a customer by our support team, just to prevent loss of revenue. And then our second problem was that we constantly had customers who required ad hoc charges to be added to their monthly invoices, both recurring and non-recurring. So we needed to find an efficient way to be able to update and perform this action. Well, for the customer solution for call recording, the SASBOSS API gave us the ability to script out what we needed. So using PowerShell to query the API, we were able to automate downloading the call recording files for the specific customer business case. And as the customer had migrated to SharePoint or OneDrive in the process, we were able to actually save those recordings directly into SharePoint, which the customer was really pleased about because it gave access to the right team without having to give those staff access to the SASBOSS portal. Internally, with our first use case, monitoring for the use of $0 endpoint service packs. So using the API, we were able to run a daily scan for newly added services, and we could then alert if an incorrect service pack had been applied to an incorrect customer. It's no doubt saved us quite a decent amount in revenue, but it's also allowed us to open up additional access to our junior staff, giving further agility to our support team, as we're able to confidently monitor and alert on changes that may have had a financial impact. Our second internal use case, creating ad hoc charges. This was a kind of a simple one, but it's saved us a lot of time. We're able to leverage the API again to script importing CSV files with recurring or non-recurring charges, and that saved us from having to manually enter those charges via the SASBOSS portal. Well, as a business, using Microsoft PowerShell and Logic Apps, we've focused heavily on automating our business processes wherever possible. And we've found working with the SASBOSS API to be quite easy and simple. Once you've authenticated to the API, running queries and performing tasks is straightforward. And the API documentation helps when you're querying a particular service for the first time. The team at Access4 have also been really helpful whenever we've needed to reach out for support or assistance. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend looking into ways that you can incorporate automation into your business, and specifically how the SASBOSS API can help you to do that.
Yeah, and that was Josh talking about our API and how it's helped PConnect and updating for their customers and them internally. And over to you, John.
Thank you. Just some final updates. I'm mindful of the fact that we've gone slightly over time because of our little break. Just Probably the biggest topic that we've got coming up from a solutions point of view is our group technical training. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to ensure that our partners are all enabled and engaged and are able to work through SASBOSS as best as possible with best practices and those sort of things in mind. So we've designed instructor-led training sessions. So we've worked the first course now. We've got multiple courses coming up, but we've got the first course now, which is a 1 full day course, or 3 3-hour virtual sessions. So that'd be over 3 days. And the idea is that we've finished the internal and external and partner beta testing to make sure that we've got what we believe to be the right content in the training, and we'll be launching that early September. Currently, we're slated for about the first week of September, but at the moment that's just depending on a few things. But we'll be getting you to register your interest on that, and I'll show you what we need to do. So from that point of view, the technical session overview is that it'll be an intro into Access4 and SASBOSS, so talking about where Access4 was formed and how it came about, and the idea of why it exists and where SASBOSS came from and why it exists as well. We'll then teach you how to provision services from SASBOSS. We'll work through how to gather requirements for call flows so that you can build a call flow that the client will be able to look at and understand. And then you'll be able to deploy that and provision that within SASBOSS. And then we'll teach you a little bit about troubleshooting within SASBOSS so that you can troubleshoot some issues, some basic troubleshooting that we've got. So what are the technical training prerequisites? So first off, you need to finish these three Strive training courses. So the Cloud Voice Product Suite, Porting Essentials, and Help and Support. So once you pass those, you'll be able to register for the training. So we will be checking this to make sure that you have completed those 3 courses to be able to register for that training. But the registration for the training is a registration of interest at the moment. We haven't slated a date exactly yet, but we want to make sure that we can see how much interest that we get to be able to understand how many classes we need to run. How do you get the Strive training? So on your SASBOSS, you've got the black panel on the side. You'll have a Strive banner there, like I've circled in the red there. All you have to do is click on that Strive section, and then you'll go into Strive, and there will be a technical training pilot icon that you'll be able to click on and go in and find those 3 courses to finish. You'll need to finish the exams under those 3 courses to be able to finish the training, to be able to do the technical training. So what happened next? You've completed the prerequisites and registered. We will contact you with the details of your session. And please understand, as I said before, there will be some potential delays because we anticipate there will be a lot of demand for this training, as it's the first group training session that we're planning to run. So we want to make sure that we've set that expectation first. But we do plan that if we get a lot of interest, that we'll run multiple of them very quickly. There is more training to come. So our next cab off the rank will be MS Teams training to make sure that we've got the basic and enhanced style of things under control. There'll be more advanced technical training coming for the BroadSoft side of SASBOSS as well as some training come for advanced troubleshooting to help you with other things such as VoIPMon and other products, and also training for iCall suite. So getting to understand what Mitch just ran through there from the IVRs and all those sort of things, and contact center reporting, so you're able to understand what each of the reports means, or being able to build your own reports in iCall suite as well. And last but not least, and this will be the last time I'll mention it unless an update comes through, is the Telstra CLI update. There is no update. Again, we haven't had an update as yet, but we are waiting. They will give us 30 days notice, so that will run over and access the text. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this off the agenda, and we won't mention it again for the foreseeable future until Telstra decide to make up their mind and turn it on. So if there are any further questions, no further questions at the moment, Mitch? No. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Access to Text, where Anne will be much deeper diving into the call flow design tool and other parts of the CPQ. Thank you very much.